Get ready to dive into the heart of local sports action. Broadcasting live from the heartland of Missouri, welcome to the SEMO Scramble on SEMO ESPN. It's now time to catch up on the latest local highlights, in-depth analysis, and interviews from the Boot Heel and beyond. Here's your host, Rusty Hendricks.
Welcome in. It's the SEMO Scramble here on SEMO ESPN Radio, 1220 AM, 93.5 FM, and online, SEMOESPN.com. You can also take us anywhere you are with the free SEMO ESPN app on your mobile device. Go to your Apple Store, your Android, Google Store, whatever it may be. Free download. Check it out. Take it easy streaming, toggle between stations, check the weather, check the contest pages, go to the podcast page. I mean, it's all right there. Easy on the app, SEMO ESPN. All right. Glad to have you join us. This Saturday, it's busy. It's a busy weekend here locally in Cape Girardeau. We got the SEMO District Fair starting today, right? We got the parade going downtown. River Radio is going to have their vehicles going out, throwing some candy out, things of that nature. So look, that'll be actually in about 30 minutes, I believe. That's going to be going on. Also, today, it is the home opener for the SEMO Redhawks. So a big game tonight. That'll be a 6 o'clock kickoff here at Houck in downtown Cape Girardeau. And you can hear the game on Row Rock 99.3 with Eric Shawn, Rick Weezer, the former standout at SEMO, and, of course, on ESPN Plus, watching that as well. And, we got the tailgate going on beforehand. Always check out the River Radio tailgate. A lot of goodies there, good food. Check it out. Get your tickets. I want to make sure to do that ahead of time. Look, I think there's 6 home games this year, okay? So plenty, if you miss today, shame on you. But, hey, there's more time, more games to get your tickets. Go to the website. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun. And this year, it's a little fun. We are doing on a little 2025 Pro Pick'em Challenge. Go to the website, check that out, and check the picks. I'm on there. I don't know if I would call myself an expert, but I'm on there. And, let's just say I'm 1 for 2. 1 for 2 on my picks so far. So, not so good. We'll see how that goes, but it'll be fun. Check it out. And you can play against us on, again, the SEMO ESPN website. Just check that out when you have some time. All right. Should be a fun show. Talking a lot of football. We got NFL starting this weekend. All right, college football, a big matchup today as well. MIZZOU, Kansas, we'll talk a little bit about that. We told you about SEMO. Also, we're going to talk a little bit, just a slight bit about baseball. It is Hall of Fame weekend for the St. Louis Cardinals. Edgar Renteria, Walt Jocketty, and Al Raboski being honored into the Cardinals Hall of Fame. How about Edgar Renteria? I loved him growing up, watching him play. How about that 2014? He was an anchor on that team. In 2004, okay, in the prime of his career, Edgar Renteria, about a 287 with a 327 on base, 728 OPS, 10 homers, 72 RBI. Not his best year, but it was solid. Really, his best year was probably right before that. Okay? 2003, into the MVP conversation. 2003, 330 average for Renteria, 394 on base, had a 130 OPS plus, 13 homers at 100 RBI. That is a year. Edgar Renteria as a shortstop. He spent 6 years with St. Louis. He ended his career with about 2,300 hits. I mean, the Hall of very good, right? I mean, probably not a Hall of Famer, but boy, he was a really, really good player. And so, again, that's this weekend. And as far as the St. Louis Cardinals team last night, well, didn't necessarily go all that well as the Cardinals dropped to the Giants. They have a series this weekend to the San Francisco Giants. By the way, it'll be Justin Verlander on the bump today. 6:15 start today, Verlander and Palante. That'll be fun. I'll get into some of their starters information in just a moment. McGreevy got the loss. He's actually been their best starting pitcher over the past month. But an 8-2 final, San Francisco gets the win over the Cardinals. McGreevy did not pitch well. 4 innings, 6 runs, 1 walk, 3 Ks. First game of a 4-game suspension for Wilson Contreras, by the way. So Contreras is missing. Jimmy Crooks with another hit. He was 1 for 4. Jordan Walker, though, 0 for 4. One thing I wanted to touch on just real quick. A lot of big stories about Jordan Walker. He's not playing well. What do you do? Do you get rid of him? Do you keep him? Do you stick with him? He's 23 years old. What do you do with Jordan Walker, right? Boy, that's a tough one because I can understand both sides of it. But I do want to mention this real quick. Take a look when you get a chance. You can go to my Twitter page, @Rusty_Hendricks. And I have a post about Jordan Walker and Joe Adell. Have you seen what Joe Adell is doing for the Angels? He was their number 1 draft pick way back when. He's now, I think, 25 years old, so a couple of years older than Jordan Walker. But in their both respective 23-age seasons, okay? Pretty similar. Pretty similar. 88 games for Joe Adell, 92 now, or 93 for Jordan Walker. 218 average for Jordan. Odell, 224 that year. Jordan Walker with 5 home runs. Joe Adell, 8. Jordan Walker, 34 RBI. Joe Adell, 27. That was the year. OPS plus, 78 for Odell, 64 for Jordan Walker. That was the year for their 23-age season. But Joe Adell this year, 2 years from that, he has 30 home runs and 90 RBI for the Los Angeles Angels. So I say that to say, can Jordan Walker be Joe Adell? Or some version of that? Maybe. I think so. So I wouldn't give up on Jordan just yet. I know that obviously big news this week about some comments about Brant Brown, Ollie Marmol, talking about Jordan Walker's got to do a better job of preparing. Basically has to listen to us. Is kind of what they're talking about. So they go to the media to kind of send that message. So it's got to start there. Jordan Walker, he's got to make a change. He does. He's got to make a change. And he's a smart kid. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Jordan Walker needs to make a change. All right. How about the starting pitching? In the last 30 days for the Cardinals, listen to this. Your worst pitcher, Andre Palante, is going to be pitching today. He's 0-5, 22 innings, 9.82 ERA. Terrible. Sonny Gray, 2-3 in 30 innings, a 5.40 ERA. Not good. He's supposedly your ace. Sonny Gray, not good. Matthew Liberatore. Up and down, right? First year really as a full-time starter. He's hitting a wall a little bit. 27 innings over his past 30 days. 1-2 record, a 4.88 ERA. 4.88. Okay, but not great, right? You like that to be a little better. But overall, he has been a little bit better pitcher than that. Your 2 best pitchers have been Miles Mikolas and Michael McGreevy. Over the past month plus, those are your 2 best pitchers. Mikolas, 25 1/3 innings, a 3.91 ERA. He's been all right. He's been fine. He really has. Doesn't mean I want him back next year. He's a free agent, so doesn't mean that, but he's been okay. And then Michael McGreevy, okay, this was before last night's game, but in 30 innings, a 3-0 record and a 3.00 ERA. That obviously went up last night. He struggled, but, again, the starting pitching has been an issue for the St. Louis Cardinals. All right, that's all I'm going to talk about the Cardinals. Real quick, there was an NFL game last night. It was the Kansas City Chiefs and the Chargers of L.A. in Brazil. Chargers got up early. They got the lead Chiefs in the second half, you knew they would, started to come back. This was a big pass play of the game. Mahomes to his good buddy, Travis Kelce.
Los Angeles 37. Mahomes with pressure finds a wide open Kelce. Travis Kelce, touchdown! 37 yards for 87. And Mahomes to Kelce strikes again against the Chargers.
So that cut it to within 2 points. They go for the 2-point conversion. They do not get it. But that was a big touchdown because now Mahomes, the most touchdowns in NFL history before the age of 30. So Mahomes, impressive, and he goes to his big guy in Travis Kelce again. Travis Kelce was wide open on that play. But it was 27-21, late in the game, 2 minutes left. 3rd and 14, trying to get the ball back, were the Chiefs. This is what secured it for the Chargers.
And they are going to throw it. And it's Herbert to his right with a wide open lane, and he picks it up and slides down in bounds. What a night for Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert played the game of his life last night. He was fantastic. Herbert and the Chargers get the victory over the Chiefs. Final score 27-21. Mahomes, he played really well. I mean, 258 yards, a touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown. He actually was the leading rusher amongst all players. Amarion Hampton for the Chargers, Pacheco for the Chiefs, leading rusher. But Herbert, 25 of 34, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2 of them to Quentin Johnson, 1 to Keenan Allen. Ladd McCloskey was 6 catches for 74 yards as well. So he played really well. Herbert, you've been trying to find that for a while now, and the Chargers get it done. So it's not going to get easier for the Chiefs. They got Philadelphia next week. Philadelphia Eagles, as they, in their first game of the NFL season on Thursday night, squeaked past the Cowboys, 24-20. So, again, that's going to be a tough game coming up next week for the Chiefs. We'll see. But as far as the Eagles and the Cowboys, I actually, in that game, the Eagles I thought were fine. Just Jalen Hurts, 2 touchdowns in that game, carries. But the Cowboys, actually, they impressed me because I wasn't expecting much out of the Cowboys, to be honest. They lose Micah Parsons. I thought their dappers were going to be down a little bit. They had a tough year last year. Not much has changed on the roster this year, but to their credit, they gave the Eagles a scare, and they made it tough. But a big field goal in that third quarter helped them, and obviously lightning delay and all that, but the Eagles got the win. But the Cowboys, maybe they'll be in at least the mix for a playoff hunt. We'll see on that. But again, Eagles with a victory. Some other big games going on this weekend. You got Bucks and Falcons, Bengals and Browns, Dolphins, Colts, Raiders, Patriots, Cardinals, Saints, Steelers, Jets, Giants, Commanders, Panthers, Jags, Titans, Broncos, 49ers, Seahawks, Lions, Packers, Texans, Rams, and the Ravens and the Bills, along with the Vikings and Bears on Monday night. Games I'm most intrigued about, no doubt the Sunday night game, Ravens and Bills. That 3:25 game on CBS, Lions and Packers. I'm interested with that one. Those are the main games I'm really interested in. I think Bucks and Falcons could be interesting potentially. 49ers, Seahawks, and Vikings and Bears on Monday night. I am curious to see how the Vikings play and how their quarterback does, and Justin McCarthy. We'll see how he can be. Again, Caleb Williams in his second year. So, again, football is back. Happy about that. And, again, some fun games coming up this week. And we'll talk a little bit more about that with Bob Stelton. He's going to join me at around another 15, 20 minutes from now. We'll talk to him about a number of things, including Major League Baseball. And we'll preview the next series for the St. Louis Cardinals as well. He's a guy out of Seattle. We'll talk about some Seattle sports with him. And Bob Stelton coming up here in a little bit. But next, we're going to talk some high school football. High school football, week 2 of the high school football season last night. And Kaiden Karper of the Southeast Missourian going to join us. Big game coming up as well. MIZZOU, Kansas, we'll talk to him about that. And SEMO, we'll preview that. A lot coming up. Stay with us. SEMO Scramble on SEMO ESPN. Welcome back in. SEMO Scramble here on SEMO ESPN Radio. That is 1220 AM, 93.5 FM, and online, SEMOESPN.com. And on the phone line now is Kaiden Karper of the Southeast Missourian. Kaiden, how are we doing?
Doing very, very well today, Rusty. Jam-packed night of Friday Night Football action yesterday, and just kind of catch my breath here before I head into SEMO tonight at 6 o'clock for the home opener.
Yeah, you got some options this afternoon, Kaiden. You can check out the River Radio tailgate going on before the game, all right? Get a little action there. Or you can even go to the SEMO District Fair. That starts this weekend. Get you a little fair food before the game, huh?
See, I'm so out of touch with these community events. I'm glad you told me that. So yeah, I might just do that, Rusty.
There we go. Week 2 of the high school football season. Last night, I just talked about NFL starting, the Chiefs-Chargers last night. That was fun. Football's here, man. College football in full swing. We'll talk about the SEMO game here in a little bit, but excited to have football back. But again, here in this area, high school football is a pretty big deal, and some great teams, good competition. We'll get into that. So let me give you some scores to those listeners out there. So to what happened last night, and we'll get into some of the individual games. Again, talking things over with Kaiden Karper of the Southeast Missourian. How about Jackson? They get another big victory last night against Louisville Ballard, Kentucky, 32-10. They get the victory. So 2-0. A win over Cardinal Ritter, and now a win over Louisville Ballard, Kentucky. I mean, that's 2 very good wins.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to take on Edwardsville, Illinois, coming up. So, look, that's going to be a tough game, Kaiden. But Jackson, man, they are impressing, and they're playing some good football right now.
Yeah, I think they get Edwardsville, too. I think this is a different Jackson team. I had the privilege of seeing him last week in the opener against Ritter. Very few weaknesses on that offensive, on the offense. I mean, I think one of the bigger concerns was their interior line, because we know how good their
edges are,
offensive tackles are. But the interior line, and they're getting better. Jalen Hampton is one of the top skill guys, if not the top skill guy in the area, in my opinion. They look different, if that makes sense. So I'm very high on the Jackson Indians as of right now.
So also Jory Toma, a big wide receiver for them as well, playing well. But yeah, Jackson, big win there. They're 2-0. This was a game I was interested in, last night. Because I wanted to know, okay, is Sykeston for real? They take on, a Class 1 Crystal City team, blew them out. They should, right? They're Class 4 school.
Mm-hmm.
But you face off against Dexter, a team that's given you trouble the last couple of years. They're a good team again this year. I've been high on Dexter. I still am. And Dexter got them last night, 39-24. I've been talking about Devin Turnbow. He had a big kickoff return for a touchdown last night. They didn't complete a single pass. Not a single pass against Sykeston. Everything on the ground. And look, I mean, for Sykeston, they're going to have to figure out how to stop the run, because that didn't work last night rather. But an impressive win for Dexter. And now Sykeston has some things to work on. But that was a game I was interested in because, I wanted to see, all right, where should we actually put Sykeston?
Right, and I'm not sure. I don't have as good of a grasp on them, considering I haven't really seen them much. But you mentioned, Sykeston needs to stop the run. Well, it's not going to get much better next week when they face Cape Central.
Yeah.
And I know, sure, yes, Keyshawn Boyd is hurt and injured, but Tigers had a pretty formidable running game last night with Torrance Murray and Izzy Bridges, so that could be a huge issue. But in terms of like ratings and stuff, it's still early. It's hard to gauge everything, sure. I think, as a whole. But yeah, I think next week will be a little more telling to see, okay, where exactly are these Sexton Bulldogs right now? Because Dexter, that's a solid football team still. Let's not forget they've, I think, 12 straight they've won or something like that. So, yeah.
I think it's 15 straight regular season games for Dexter now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Let me look.
Yeah, something along the lines of that. Yeah, no, you're right.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that Cape game here in just a little bit more, but absolutely impressive there. Chaminade got the win against Poplar Bluff, 14-7. Bluff's having trouble scoring the last couple of weeks. So the defense seems to be solid. They're playing tough, but it's having trouble scoring. But 14-7 the final there. This game surprised me a little bit. DeSoto with a victory over Perryville, 31-14. Perryville, you know, I've been high on them, but that's not a bad loss. DeSoto is improved, but the spread a little bit surprises me. Yeah,
and I think Perryville kind of shot itself in the foot a lot. I think they had over 10 penalties in the game. So one, that doesn't help, but that surprised me because I'm with you. I'm high on this Perryville team. And again, it's only week 2, so let's not be drawing conclusions yet, but that did, you know, home opener. You know, you have a lot of momentum going into it. Yeah, I mean, you pounded DeSoto last year, and hey, maybe it's a look ahead, quote unquote. I don't think
St.
that
Vincent.
really exists in high school football, but they got a big one this week to make things right.
Exactly.
So we'll see.
Yeah, at St. Vincent this coming week. Obviously, both of those teams will be up for that game. That'll be a lot of fun for sure. Caruthersville, Malden, 61-0. One of the best. You mentioned Jalen Hampton. Right up there, Sammy Bryant, as far as a running back. They took care of business. Look, Malden, they've been down. They're still down. They're having some struggles. They're Trested Pulley, second year as a head coach. He's working on things. He's going to build a culture. He is a good coach. He's going to help them. But they just don't have it right now. And Caruthersville, is a pretty solid team, blew them out last night. How about this shootout? Okay, I got to see New Madrid last week. I thought they were improved and a decent team. Cape beat them 21-6. They get the win over East Prairie 44-40. East Prairie had a good year last year. They lost some guys, but they still have some good skill position players as well. 44-40. That had to have been a fun game last night.
Yeah, Dennis Marshall, the Standard Democrat, he was there to cover it. How about this? East Prairie running back Tavion Ware. I think he had 44 touches, over 200 yards, and they, just to lose the game. And I know East Prairie, they debuted that new home turf, which is pretty cool. But that must have been a lot of fireworks last night down there in East Prairie.
Yeah, and Charlie Rosano, a very good running back for the Eagles, but they have some good skill position guys as well. And good win for New Madrid. Kennett and Paragould, Arkansas. They got a big win last week after going 0-10 last year. They got a win in week 1 was Kennett, but they fall against Paragould, Arkansas 42-28. But it is an improved Kennett team. And then I want you to talk about this game a little bit. 2-0. That didn't happen last night. It was 2 nights ago at Houck Stadium. But 2-0 now are the Saxony Lutheran Crusaders, a 35-7 win over Donovan. How about the O.J. Turner-led Crusaders?
Yeah, and I'm stoked for OJ and the Crusaders. Obviously, one of the top storylines going into the year. But they're a fun team. I haven't really covered a game yet. Cole Lee, our sports reporter, is taking that initiative. But a fun team, incredibly well coached. So I think the discipline's there. The mechanics are there. OJ's there as well as, former SEMO OC and SEMO quarterback Jeremy McDowell, whose son Kai is one of the anchors of the team there on their center. Great start. I mean, 2-0. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care if first year varsity football to start out 2-0. That's a pretty good feat. And I know these guys are only getting it started. So they go to Sparta, Illinois next week. and just see if they can keep the train rolling.
After a win last week against Kelly, Charleston falls to Potosi 39-8. So tough loss there. How about Hayti over Portageville 42-20? Hayti is a good team, 42-20 there. Valley Catholic over St. Vincent. They're still, every year they're a powerhouse, man. 42-7 Valley Catholic over St. Vincent, and then Farmington over St. Clair's 60-27. Any of those games stand out?
Not so much. St. Vincent, you want to talk about a lot of turnover. That's a team, they lost a lot. I think they were gutted by graduation. You lose your all-state quarterback, your best skill guy, and John Schwartz. I think they're kind of just trying to scramble and put the pieces to the puzzle together. So I think that's the team that's going to grow as the season goes on. But, we'll see. I think Perryville losing last night makes things a little bit more interesting next week.
All right, the game that we were both at last night, St. Charles West and Cape Central. I want you to listen to this. This was before the game. During my pregame show, I talked to Kent Gibbs, the head coach, talking about Keyshawn Boyd. Listen to what he had to say about Keyshawn Boyd.
Obviously, the big story, though, from week one was the injury to Keyshawn Boyd. For those fans out there that maybe don't know the update, give us the update on him. What can you tell us about Keyshawn?
Well, things have gone well this first week. Since his injury, he's had surgery. He feels good about it. The doctor says there's a chance we can get him back towards the end of the year, and we'll just keep our fingers crossed and pray and hope that it works out for him.
So there you go. You heard it from head coach Kent Gibbs. Broken leg. He got it repaired. Surgery on Saturday, so a week from week ago today. They put a plate in. They put like a rope type thing, also like to secure the ankle. He's in a boot on that left leg, right? So full break. But they feel like, Kaiden, that 6-7 weeks from now he could potentially, come back. And they say, they're going to be aggressive with the rehab process. So that's huge news. Obviously, time will tell if that actually happens, but that's obviously a huge loss, number one, before we get into the game last night. That's a huge loss for Cape Central, but for the potential for him to come back, and I know that he wants to come back not only for himself and his team, but look, to help his college stock. He hasn't committed anywhere yet, man, and no doubt this is going to hurt his, chance to play at the next level. So if he can come back, find a way, and then, finish strong, that'll be huge for him.
Yeah. It sucks. Injuries it sucks, especially for, a young man like him, as talented as he is. But off the record, I talked to Keyshawn a little bit yesterday, and he seemed just as optimistic about it. So, if they can get him, at least for the postseason, if they can get him, back and going, at least, 70, 75%, that's huge. And, that's a little bit of points in Cape's favor.
And look, the game last night, Cape Central got the victory over St. Charles West, 26-7. But without Keyshawn, that's a big loss. We talked about it. But, hey, they still have a pretty good running back room. How about Izzy Bridges, the sophomore, a career-high 180 yards rushing, a couple of touchdowns last night. And then Torrance Murray, a great change in pace back, 10 rushes for 75 yards. He had a touchdown as well. Those two guys combined with, somewhere around 250 yards total between. That's not too bad, Kaiden.
Yeah, I like him. I think, Bridges is only a sophomore, so he's young. I think this is literally, people forget, this is only his second career start, or I guess technically first career start, considering Keyshawn's
that's right.
began in week one. But, they impressed. Izzy's more like the speed back, and to your point, Murray kind of like a nice change of pace, physical back. He's not afraid to, put a shoulder into you, and they look good. The O-line, I think they made some good blocks yesterday, and it's worth mentioning, Aiden McGuire, quarterback, he threw it a lot more yesterday. I forget 14, 15 pass attempts. Which for Cape Central, that's a good amount, believe it or not. And he was making some solid throws. So I think you're seeing his confidence, raise a little bit as the weeks go on. So I think the offense looks pretty sturdy, and the defense, obviously, holding your second straight opponent to 7 points or less. They're in a good spot right now.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I'll be honest. After the first week, I thought, man, I don't know. I don't know about this Cape Central team. But seeing what they did last night, I feel better. I feel better about it, and I still think they can have a pretty good year. Maybe not quite as good as what they could have with Keyshawn back there, but I think they'll be okay. I really do think they'll be okay. They got some tough teams on the schedule, so not saying they can't have a blemish here or there, but I like the way that Cape Central's been playing, and that'll be another fun game next week. I believe it's the 114th meeting, something like that, between the two teams, Sykeston and Cape. Always fun. That's at Sykeston next week. But the last game I want to talk about, Kaiden, Scott City at Kelly.
Yeah.
How about it? Both of us have talked about it. We're both high on Scott City. I'll be honest, I thought this was going to be a blowout in favor of the Rams. It was not. Kelly got the win 16-14 last week. Kind of back and forth there towards the end a little bit. Scott City went up, and then Kelly was able to come back, get the victory late. How about Coach Powers and company getting it done? And that might be one of the best wins in their history.
It is. I think it's one of them, at least, to your point. Early game of the year candidate right there. Cole Lee, our reporter, he had the privilege to see it firsthand. I talked to Cole, and he's like, yeah, that's literally one of the best games I've ever seen. So I think you throw in the history, the rivalry aspect, and just the overall environment. In the finish, I mean, Scott City, they score a touchdown late in the game. Rustin Underwood, good running back, he goes in, go-ahead touchdown. Then Kelly kind of has like a 50-yard Hail Mary, scores a touchdown, goes for two, gets it in, and then I believe Scott City kind of, they were driving, and they fumble the football. Kelly wins it, and Kelly just played great defense, but what a finish, man. I wish I was kind of there secondhand to see it.
Yeah, that is crazy. No doubt. I mean, that was one that surprised a lot of people. It surprised me. So Kelly, I don't know, maybe they could crack the top 10 of Coley's list going forward. We'll see, but that is a big-time victory for sure. Hey, just a fun thing I've been doing for myself, really. I'm doing kind of a high school pick-em before each week.
I've seen.
Not to brag too much, but 20-5 record in the first 2 weeks. 20-5.
How about that?
That's not too bad, right?
And in your losses, they're plausible losses. I mean, who expected
I did not get that one right.
Last night? Yep. And I guess week one, few people had Ritter losing to Jackson. So, strong. Look at you, Rusty. How about that?
All right, we'll keep it going, having fun with that. All right. Moving to the college ranks, okay? We mentioned it. You'll be there tonight as the Red Hawks host North Alabama in the home opener at Houck, 6 o'clock. Should be fun. The series tied 1-1. SEMO got the victory 37-15 a year ago in Montgomery, Alabama. Look, I'll be honest. I was a little apprehensive, I guess, of what the offense could look like going into the season. They lose Paxton DeLaurent, but man, I thought they looked pretty good. Jax Leatherwood steps in. I thought he looked good. The two running backs with Epton and Brown look solid if they can stay healthy. The offensive line, I thought, did a decent job as well. So, obviously they got the loss with Arkansas State, but they stuck with them for a while. They were right there towards the first half. I was impressed in week one. What did you think of this team? And then going into week two, what do you think?
Yeah. I'll start with this. A-State, that's a potential Sun Belt champion. So this is going to be probably the second toughest team SEMO sees all year. So I think that kind of raises the bar in terms of competition level. So kind of take, the week one with a grain of salt, if you will. I think Jax is good. I think I talked to Coach Tuke after the game, and he's like, yeah, the future's bright with our quarterback. So he likes what he sees. Obviously, he's such a good raw talent. I think it's right now just getting his confidence up and getting him used to Division I football. I think he'll ball out tonight. His receiver stepped up. Cam Pedro and Donnie Cheers, kind of the clear 1 and 2 guys right now.
Yeah.
I think another important part, Epton Jr. and PB, they're very good backs. Now it's a matter of getting these guys to the second and third level in terms of blocking, because that's a very new look offensive line as well. So if they can continue to, go through the progressions and, mesh, I think that's a very, very solid, balanced offense. Defensively, a lot of explosive plays they gave up last week. But again, that's one of the most explosive offenses they'll see all year. That quarterback for him, Jalen Rayner, very good, mobile. Couldn't bring him down. I mean, they got to him. You just couldn't take the guy to the ground because he's so slippery and quick. So they face another mobile quarterback tonight and against North Alabama, but they seemed to contain him last year pretty well. So I'm going to be paying a little bit more attention to the defense today to see if they can make some improvements there. I think that's sort of something that's going to be more emphasized is, getting after the QB and making him more one-dimensional. But yeah, I'm with you. I think we saw a lot of promise with this team last week. I'm still pretty high on them. And this is a great tune-up, especially it's such a tough, challenging, early season stretch that the Red Hawks have.
They get this game tonight, don't they?
Yeah, I think they do, and I think they should win by a few possessions. 14 maybe. They should win this football game pretty comfortably, but you never know. So,
yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the defense is a little bit of a question mark for the Red Hawks, so I do want to see them play well tonight, and hopefully they can have some success. Hey, it's a blackout night, all right? You gonna be wearing black tonight?
Glad you reminded me because I would have forgotten. But yeah, I'll have my black on tonight.
All right, very good. So that'll be a lot of fun. SEMO game on ESPN Plus, and of course on our sister station, Rural Rock 99.3. Last thing before I let you go, you had a chance to go to the MIZZOU home opener last week with some buddies. I believe that was the first time you've ever been to Faurot Field. How was that atmosphere last week? And look, there's a huge game going on this week, MIZZOU and Kansas. But how about Faurot Field and how it's jumping right now?
Yeah, it's pretty electric. So obviously you didn't know this. I went a couple times last year.
Okay,
I went as like a quote-unquote freelancer. But I was in the press box. Tony Capobianco hooked me up with some press pass, so that was cool of him. No, first time I was there as a fan in the bleachers, and that was an awesome environment. They obviously blew out Central Arkansas. It's going to be 10 times as rocking today against KU. But yeah, the vibes are high in MIZZOU right now. I think, Prebula looked great at QB, made a couple big plays. Obviously a tougher test today against Jayhawks, but yeah, I think, I'm surprised College Game Day isn't going here. I get the
SEC
Michigan OU game's kind of big, but, I mean, you're talking about like a long-time traditional rivalry coming back. That kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, that would have been nice if they were there. They do have SEC Nation there, so Paul Feinbaum and others are there. Tim Tebow is there, so that's pretty cool. Still something there in Columbia, but you mentioned it. I mean, KU can't. I mean, one of my biggest memories, as a MIZZOU fan. I mean, I'm not like a hardcore MIZZOU fan, but look, Chase Daniel and company, 2007, they get Kansas, 2 top 5 ranked teams, and MIZZOU gets them. That was one of the best games I can remember in MIZZOU football history. They were so good that year, Jeremy Macklin and company. So, look, it's going to be fun, MIZZOU, Kansas. I think MIZZOU wins. You're a former Penn State guy. Bo Prebula looked really good. I like their running back room as well for MIZZOU. Connor Tollison anchoring the offensive line at center. I think MIZZOU gets it done. What do you say?
I do. I think if Prebula can make the throws, downfield, and he showed, a good bit of promise last week. that'll open everything else up. And I think it's a little higher scoring. I'm going to say MIZZOU 38, KU 24. Let's go with that.
All right. I like it. I'm excited. There's a lot of good football on today, buddy. Enjoy it.
I know. Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me on, Rusty.
I appreciate it, Kaiden. You're the man.
Thanks.
All right, that is Kaiden Karper of the Southeast Missourian. Appreciate him, and make sure and check his coverage out at the Southeast Missourian following the game tonight with the Redhawks. They do a good job of covering SEMO athletics. All right, we talked high school. We talked college. Now we're going to talk with Bob Stelton. Some history there with me and Bob Stelton, just real quick before we go to – we have to double break. We took a long time with Kaiden there. So Bob Stelton I graduated up in St. Louis at Missouri Baptist University in 2011. I did an internship with 101 ESPN in St. Louis. Bob Stelton was there, had a morning show, and he only did it for a year. But under him, I was, an intern, and I got to learn a little bit under him. And producer John Seymour learned a lot, and learned that I like doing this, and I had fun, and wanted to be in sports, wanted to do the whole radio gig, right? So appreciate Bob. I haven't really touched base with him much since then. It's been over a decade, but it was a chance for me to talk to him as the Cardinals are getting ready to play the Seattle Mariners next week. They'll start on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They'll play against the Seattle Mariners in Seattle. Bob Stelton is out there in Seattle for Seattle Sports now at 7:10, so he's doing some great work there, the Wyman and Bob show for Seattle Sports. So we'll preview a little bit of the Cardinals and Seattle Mariners. We'll talk a little about the 49ers and Seahawks, and just a little bit about everything here. But so Bob Stelton coming up. Hope you enjoy it as well. So stay with us after this break on SEMO ESPN. Welcome back in. You're listening to the SEMO Scramble right here on SEMO ESPN Radio. That's 1220 AM, 93.5 FM, and online at SEMOESPN.com. And happy to have Bob Stelton on here as on our phone line, a host of the Wyman and Bob show from 2 to 7 p.m. on Seattle Sports Radio. So, Bob, first of all, thanks for joining us, and how are we doing?
I'm doing great, man. Good to talk to you.
So, obviously, listeners don't know, so we'll get a little bit of background from you. I got to know you from 101 ESPN in St. Louis. I interned there in college back in 2011. But you're in Seattle now. You've been there for a bit. So tell the listeners, how long were you at 101 ESPN, and how long you been there for Seattle Sports at 710?
Yeah, I was in St. Louis for just a little over a year at 101. Started with Brian Burwell, and then I was doing my own show for a while, and then got the call to come back home to Seattle, which is where I grew up, and I've been here since 2011. So, yeah, it's been, 14 years I've been home.
That's awesome. So one of the reasons I want to talk to you is about, obviously, the race in Major League Baseball, the Mariners in the thick of things. I want to talk about that because, look, a series coming up next week with the Cardinals, and preview that series just a bit. But, first off, the Mariners in a final wild card spot right now in the AL. So how do you expect kind of the wild card picture, the playoff picture playing out? Do you feel like the Mariners still have a shot at the division as well?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a shot at the division. They're 3 games back. As frustrating as they've been, it's when they win, the Astros win. When the Astros lose, the Mariners lose. So they're having a hard time closing the gap on the Astros, who have left the door open. It's just a matter of the Mariners playing up to snuff and walking through that door. So the division is there to be had. They still have another 3-game series with the Astros, so they can obviously do a lot of damage in that. But they just, their problem is they crush it at home. Their pitching is dominant at home, and then they go on the road and the pitching fails them. But this last series against the Cleveland Guardians, their pitchers were spot on. It was the bullpen blew it one night, then it was the offense couldn't get anything going, and then it's a matter of them just finding this rhythm, because you got 24 games to go, and you've got a 1.5 game lead for that third wild card spot right now. So every game means the world.
And you have a former Cardinal on the roster in Randy Arozarena. Of course, he's a guy that a lot of Cardinals fans didn't want to see go. He went on to have a lot of success with Tampa Bay, now on with the Mariners. How has he fit in there in Seattle, and how has fans received him?
Oh, fans love him. Fans love him. He gives you a boost to the lineup. He's a guy that's he's very animated. I know he was out, when he was there, he's very young, but he's a guy that's sort of grown into his personality. And he's the guy that's got some pop. You needed some pop in the middle of that lineup. He's got a career high 26 home runs this year, and he's the guy that's a threat. He's also, can be an adventure in the outfield. I wouldn't call him the best outfielder in the world, but he can, every once in a while, he'll make these crazy good catches. You're like, well, where did that come from? Because the play before that, you took a really odd angle on the ball and seemed to completely misjudge it. But so he's a little, he's a little hit and miss. He can be all in. He's got a knack for the big moment, though. I got to say, he does come up with some big home runs, and they always seem to come. It's not, hey, first inning home run, 1-0. No, it's when they're down by a run or they're tied. He just seems to have a knack for coming up with that crucial home run at the right time.
I'm curious, too, because if you look at a couple of guys, you compare them a little bit, they couldn't have any more different of careers so far. You look at Julio Rodriguez for the Mariners, who, when he entered the league, age 21. For the Cardinals, a guy named Jordan Walker, when he entered the league, age 21. But obviously, Jordan Walker has not had the success that Julio Rodriguez has. Look, maybe a little up and down, yes, but I guess one of my questions would be, what do you think has been kind of the biggest difference for him, kind of jumping off, getting off to a good start, and really excelling there in Seattle?
Well, that's part of the problem has been his starts. He's been a notorious slow starter. That's been the one constant in his career, albeit it's a brief career at this point. But, he's only 24 years old, and this is his fourth full season. So he's just had this knack for starting out really slow, and then the second half of the season, he's just a house of fire, and that's true for this year. And he did it last year, and he did it the year before. So he's the one thing I'll say for Julio is that when he is hot, he looks like one of the best players in the entire league. And when he struggles at the plate, he looks like he's got no clue what's coming. But the thing I'll say is he doesn't take it into the field with him. He plays tremendous defense. He's one of the best defensive outfielders in all of baseball. And that's true when he's hitting, and it's true when he's not hitting. And I think for a young guy who, again, just turned 24 in December, that's a lot. You'll see those guys carry their struggles at the plate into the field, and it's kind of a snowball effect. And he has not done that at any point during his career, despite the fact that each year he does get off to a slow start. And then by the end of the year, you look at his numbers and go, wow, he had a really nice year. Well, it ended up being that, but the problem is it takes a while for him to get going, and the Mariners have missed the playoffs by one game 2 years in a row. Some of those early struggles could have been the difference between a win and a loss, and maybe they were in the playoffs had he gotten off to a quicker start.
You mentioned that obviously you've been removed from the St. Louis market for over a decade, but look, you were there. You know what it's like as fans in St. Louis, how crazy they are about baseball. I'm curious from your perspective, kind of what's going on in St. Louis, and what do you make kind of the position where they are right now? And then I guess number two, look, the attendance has been down. They're expected to have their lowest attendance marker since 1995, only 2.3 million expected this year. I guess, so number one, again, your thoughts on just where they are now and kind of how they got there. The number two, if you were to kind of give a message to the organization or ownership of the St. Louis Cardinals, what would that be?
Well, it would be true for any team that's struggling, and obviously the Cardinals are under 500 and they're 17 games back in the division, but they're only at 6.5 back out card. So, yeah. There's still a remote outside chance, but look, they give up a lot of runs. They've given up more runs than any team in the Central by a long shot. 647 runs allowed. I mean, that's untenable, man. Your offense can be on fire, and you're giving up, runs at that clip. You're not going to win many games. So you got to, as far as ownership goes and everything, you've got to give the fans a reason to show up. You can't just live on goodwill and here's what we've done in years past. And, hey, we won a series this year. We did this that year. Give them a reason, because it's getting more expensive. You know, everything in the world is more expensive outside of sports. So when you're talking about discretionary money and somebody deciding, do I want to spend money on a ticket to go watch this team that is, you know, getting lit up nightly and giving up all these runs, and they're a losing team at this point, it makes sense. I can't blame people for not spending their money. You got to give them a reason to want to spend that money. You know, but I wasn't there long, but I was there long enough to understand how important baseball is. It's religion out there. I've never seen an opening day like I saw in St. Louis, where it was tailgating and nobody seemed to be at work, and it was a holiday. And the fans will be there when the product is there for them to get behind. And, you know, again, I don't think ownership in any city can rest on who they've been. They've got it. You know, that's great. It's nice to look back at what you've achieved, but you've got to put money into that product. You've got to make sure you got the pitching. You just cannot, as I said, give up runs at the clip they're giving up runs and expect that they're going to win games, and in turn, fans are still going to pay to see it.
So I wanted to touch on a couple other things with you before we let you go. Again, talking things over with Bob Stelton. He's of 710 Sports there in Seattle, host of the Wyman and Bob Show from 10 to 7 p.m. on Seattle Sports Radio. Look, obviously, football is in full swing now. College football just started. The NFL beginning this weekend as well. I guess just from afar, if you paid any attention at all, anything stood out from week one of the college football season? We saw teams like Alabama go down, Notre Dame go down, Texas go down. And then for this week in week two, there's not a lot of star power matchups. There is Michigan, Oklahoma that seems to be pretty good. MIZZOU and Kansas is going to be fun as far as a lot of fans here locally. But anything stand out, I guess, from the first week of football in college?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing was what everybody was talking about, watching Arch Manning and Texas go out there and get taken out by Ohio State. I think that was the premier game of the weekend, and because his last name's Manning, everybody is expecting genius from him right out of the gates. I think he's got a lot of talent. It didn't show in that game, but I think he'll be all right. But it's a different spotlight for him. So that stuck out. Obviously, I'm watching what's going on with Alabama because there's ties to the Huskies out here in Washington with
right.
Kalen DeBoer being the head coach out there. So I think there's a little bit of delight out here when they see, you know, Alabama struggle coming out of the gates, getting beat by Florida State the way they did. I mean, they got hammered. So I think, you know, that out here was kind of a story because, you know, people felt like Kalen DeBoer bailed on him after playing for the national title, and he rolled out there to Alabama. So, you know, keeping an eye on that. You know, looking at the big schools, Michigan, you know, New Mexico, you're not going to look too deep into that. They're supposed to beat up on them, and they did. Boise State was interesting because, you know, that's a team that a lot of people are behind, feeling like they're a sleeper, and they go out there and just get their tail kicked by South Florida. So as far as week one, those are the things. And then obviously locally here, the Huskies won, the Cougs won. That was a big deal out here. But nationally, those were the things that stuck out for me.
Yeah, you mentioned South Florida. Now they get, in week two, a matchup with the University of Florida. So that might be a little more interesting than what it normally would have been. But I want to turn to the NFL, Bob. Again, starting this week, I want to talk about a few Sunday matchups. Obviously, you know, the Niners, the Seahawks in week one. I think the Green Bay Packers and the Lions matchup is pretty intriguing, and then the Ravens and Bills. But any matchups that kind of draw your attention here early on in the season?
Well, obviously the Seahawks and the 49ers in week one. And, you know, the thing out here has been the home field. This used to be a place where teams did not want to play, and it was notorious for volume. It was notorious for drawing, you know, movement on the O-line, you know, causing a lot of complications for opposing offenses because of the volume here. And this fan base took a lot of pride in that. And that home field advantage is dissipated. They were a losing team at home last year, despite the fact they had double-digit wins. They were 7-1 on the road. They were 3-6 at home. And the Niners coming into Seattle as the favorites. So that tells me that Vegas is betting on the 49ers were incredibly injured last year. As much as I can't stand that team, they were injured in a very big way. So there's a belief now they're healthy. They're going to be the version everybody thought they would be. Seahawks, there's a lot of questions on the offense. I mean, you got a new coordinator. You got a new quarterback in Sam Darnold. You got new receivers. DK Metcalf is gone. Tyler Lockett is gone. Cooper Kupp is in. So you got a lot of new on that side of the ball, and I don't think people know what to make of them yet. And frankly, we don't. They look good in preseason, but not sure what they're going to look like when it comes down to it. As far as other games going on out there, I'm curious to see what the Rams look like because they're one of the favorites in this division, and Stafford has been dealing with a bad back. So is he going to be limited? Is he going to be hindered out there? What does he look like? And then the Giants are a fascinating team because Russell Wilson's starting for his third team now. They take on the Commanders who look, Jaden Daniels is a star, and they're at home. So Jackson Dart is sitting right behind Russell Wilson waiting for that opportunity. He's the backup. And then I'm always curious just to see the Browns because they never seem to have a quarterback, no matter how high they draft, no matter who it is. It doesn't seem to work out, whether they draft him, whether they sign him. You can talk about Deshaun Watson, the disaster he was, all of the first-round picks they spent on guys like Tim Couch and Brandon Weeden and Brady Quinn, and you can just go down the list of quarterbacks that have been drafted by the Cleveland Browns and just turned out to be busts. So the Browns-Bengals is one I'm always a little bit interested in as well.
So put you on the spot just a little bit. I want to see if you have maybe one team that you feel like could take the next step and improve in the NFL, maybe turn some heads, and then also one team that could drop and regress this year.
One team that could jump up. Let's see. I'm trying to think of teams that kind of scuffled last year that could make that jump. I'm actually kind of curious. The Raiders were not good last year. They're a 4-win team last year, and they got a new head coach in Pete Carroll, who obviously we know very well out here in Seattle, and they've got a quarterback that we know well in Geno Smith. I think they'll definitely be better than a 4-win team. Are they going to be a playoff team? They're going to be interesting for me to watch in terms of a team that could take that jump. As far as teams coming back to the pack, I'm kind of keeping my eye on the Vikings. I don't know about J.J. McCarthy. Is he the guy? Is he not the guy? I mean, they were a 14-win team last year. I don't know that they match that. McCarthy, as much as he's not a rookie, technically, he is a rookie in terms of time on the field. So I think that could be a team you see that was dominant last year, a playoff team, 14-3, take a step back. And the Raiders, I think, could be a team takes a step forward. I don't know if it's forward enough to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be decidedly better than they were last year.
Interesting. The Bills and the Ravens are the top odds to get to the Super Bowl this year, while the Eagles and Chiefs are just behind them. So do you like those four teams to be right there?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right? I mean, the Eagles have the pedigree, obviously. We've seen what they did. We've seen what they've done. The Chiefs are always in the mix when they've got Mahomes. Kelsey, I think, is slowing down, but I think he's still a weapon. The Ravens with Lamar Jackson, look, as long as everybody's healthy, and that's the caveat for every team, as long as you're not suffering injuries to key players, most notably your quarterbacks, these teams should be in it. I'm also curious to see what the Bengals do. I think Joe Burrow is a guy that is one of the elite passers in the league, but this is the put up or shut up year. This is a guy that, is considered amongst the elite, and, that's what great, there's good quarterbacks and there's great quarterbacks. And if he's going to be a great quarterback, well, he's got to help carry that team in a way that other quarterbacks don't. That's what Mahomes does, right? That's what we've seen him do year in, year out, where his receivers couldn't hang on to a dang ball, but they were still right there. They were in the thick of everything because of Mahomes, because of certainly not a one-man show, but great quarterbacks bring up the play of the players around them. And I want to see if Joe Burrow is that guy.
Awesome stuff. Bob, you're the best. Appreciate you doing it today. Again, Bob Stelton out of Seatle Sports there, 710. Appreciate it, man.
Anytime, man. Good to talk to you.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Bob Stelton. Brings back a lot of memories for me interning under him and producer John Seymour. But all right, thanks to Bob Stelton. Good stuff there, and again, appreciate that. Boy, we're running a little late today. Sorry, guys, but a lot of fun. Look, again, going back to the college, I know we talk a lot of NFL there. And by the way, again, you can go check out the Pro Pick'em Challenge. Go to SEMOESPN.com. Check that out, the Pro Pick'em Challenge. Play me and others there, SEMOESPN.com. Right now, I'm 1-2. 1-2. So here are my picks. Real quick, I'll get you that. I got Tampa Bay over Atlanta, Cincy over Cleveland, Miami over Indianapolis, Jacksonville over Carolina, New England over the Raiders. Even though, high in the Raiders there was Stelton. I got the Cardinals over the New Orleans Saints, Pittsburgh over the Jets, Washington over the Giants, Denver over Tennessee, San Francisco I have winning over the Seahawks. I think Green Bay might get the win over Detroit. We'll see what Detroit is this year. I got the Rams over the Texans. I got Baltimore on Sunday night winning over Buffalo. And then I got Chicago defeating Minnesota. Those are my picks for week 1. Check that out. Make your picks too. SEMOESPN.com. Again, SEMO. MIZZOU and Kansas. Excited for the game. How about Paul Feinbaum? What does he say?
Just wanted to say hello to everybody in Missouri, and we cannot wait to bring our show Friday in SEC Nation there. There was a big debate about going to Kentucky this weekend, Ole Miss at Kentucky, and I heard the conversation at Media Days, and I told our producer, I said, are you people serious? And I told them a story about speaking in Kansas City a couple of years ago to the Tiger Club, and this was before the SEC Network started, and I had to go over to Kansas City, Kansas to do my radio show, and my host would not take me. And then he explained the Kansas-Missouri controversy. And I have been reading up on that. I've read all the books. And that's the reason why we were coming here, because I told these guys that you have no earthly idea how great this rivalry is and how bitter it is. So I can't wait to meet all of you Friday. And you got...
All right, that is Paul Feinbaum talking about his show being there. The SEC Nation is there, but again, back in 2007, getting it done, 36-28 off of Chase Daniels, 361 passing yards, 3 touchdowns back in 2007 over Kansas. That's one of my highlights as a fan, but going to be fun. Kansas and Mizzou later. We got SEMO Football at 6 p.m. Join us for that. Notre Dame Softball Fest going on for high school sports this weekend. Softball doubleheader for the Notre Dame and others. Again, high school football last night. We got other college games, big games, Michigan, Oklahoma later on tonight, and then a big slate of NFL football this weekend. So a lot of football, a lot of good sports for you. And the U.S. Open. Alcaraz got the win last night. Can he get another championship? So a lot of things going on. I hope you enjoy it. We went a little long, but folks, have a great weekend. Enjoy it. And be safe out there, huh? Enjoy it. Fall is kind of here. It's here, and we're excited. Great weather this weekend as well. Folks, have a great time. Rusty Hendricks saying so long here with the SEMO Scramble.
You've been listening to the SEMO Scramble on SEMO ESPN. Tune in every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 for a dash of hometown pride and the latest news, scores, and stories that matter most to local sports enthusiasts from the Boot Heel and beyond. Right here on SEMO ESPN 1220 AM, 93.5 FM, the SEMO ESPN app, and SEMOESPN.com.